Happy New Year! Hello and welcome back. I'm very excited to be back with you with my vlogs. I am at Old Main on the CU Boulder campus, SCO Buffs. And this week I am here to talk about Chills at Will podcast. So this is my first time reviewing a podcast, and I feel like it's kind of difficult to review it like I have with some of my other books, like saying, oh, well, the plot was really good, or the pacing was well done, or the characters were well developed. Because, I mean, I don't know how often y'all listen to podcasts, but it's not the same thing every time. Like, everyone's a little bit different. And I think that's really the beauty of podcasts, though, because each one kind of tells its own story. So individually, I do think that the stories were really well done. I think the narration is good. I liked listening to the podcast. You know how sometimes, like, I don't know. I guess, like, I don't know how often you guys listen to the radio, but with some, like, actresses or actors or news anchors, their voices are, like, a little bit grating. Did not have that problem at all. I also just really liked the way that books and other media were looked at in the podcast. I thought it was really interesting. And it's kind of funny because this feels a little bit meta. There were at times where in the podcast it would be sort of review-esque, where a book would be looked at, or a social event, which I thought was really interesting, would be analyzed and kind of reviewed and taken apart. And it's so apropos that we're here on CU, because in college I studied communication and rhetoric and what's the deeper meaning behind things and stuff like that. And there's this one episode in particular that I listened to about just all of the civil rights and social justice issues that were coming up after the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor murders last year. And it was really cool to hear the perspectives in the podcast just about the rhetoric that was being discussed and how it relates to the broader picture. There are a few other articles, or not articles, but episodes that I listened to. Like, I listened to one about The Outsiders and S.E. Hinton, and that's always been one of my favorite stories. There's a car, and I apologize for that background noise. But it was just really cool, because I think the beauty of listening to reviews, and not even just reviews, but just commentary on various works, is that you get to hear new perspectives. So I definitely recommend Chills at Will podcast. I think if you like literature, it's going to be a really good podcast for you. I think if you like social justice, current event analysis, I think this will also be a good podcast for you. It's not like one of those political podcasts where, like, that's the main intent, but because our literature, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, is kind of a reflection of our real life experiences, I think it's very relevant to talk about those and to see how real life experiences marry with literature is just a really interesting concept, and I think it's really well done at Chills at Will podcast. So that's all I've got. Next week I am very excited because I will be reviewing Catfield the Racketeer by E.P. Spiegel. It is kind of a crime thriller and very dramatic. So looking forward to getting back with you. Happy New Year again, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.